I think you're back with us, and you were just sort of talking through what you saw, and I just want to turn it over to you to fill us in.
Yes, this is a facility that is for teenagers, both girls and boys, between the ages of 13 and 17. They both are in the facility but kept separate at all times. So they do not dine together. They do not sleep in the same dorm floors together. They're kept very separate. This facility does appear to be very orderly, very structured. Every child inside has a badge around their neck that has a barcode. And when they enter and exit any building on the premises, whether that's the dining hall or the school classrooms or the recreation areas, they are scanned by personnel inside to know exactly where every child is at every time. They are also given sort of uniforms, jeans and T-shirts, so they're all dressed alike, and they all march in orderly lines. So it is a very organized, very structured facility. There are more than 1,100 children inside this facility. We're told 70 of them have been separated from their parents at the border. The rest came across the border unaccompanied. Now, as in terms of cleanliness and in terms of being hospitable, they certainly appear that this is a clean and safe facility. The dorm rooms, each room houses 12 children in one dorm room that share one bathroom. And that is where they sleep at night. One thing that is striking about going into those dorm rooms is that there is nothing on the walls, there is nothing on the floors, there's nothing to identify even that a child really lives there. Now, they say this is a temporary place, so technically they say the average stay here is about 25 days before they are able to find some type of foster parent or reunite them with their parent or immigrate them somehow to life here in the United States. But as in terms of the structure of this place, they are given 6 hours of education every day. We were walked through classrooms where children were being taught. They're given recreation every day, 3 meals a day, 3 snacks a day. And it does appear that, that it is clean and that it is safe. I will say one thing that's sort of distinctly different between this and seeing the small children is that because these children are teenagers, you see a certain awareness on their face that they're not free. And as you walk through, they're sort of looking at you and assessing you from a perspective of looking at the outside. So it is different than seeing the young children who perhaps don't have that consciousness.
And Katie, I have a bunch of questions for you. Can you talk specifically about what you just addressed, and specifically as it relates to girls? Because up until now, reporters have not been in a facility that houses any of the girls that have been separated from their parents or that have crossed over as unaccompanied minors. Can you specifically talk about what you saw with these young women, with these girls, these teens, their facilities? And I know it's always tough to characterize morale or mood in a quantifiable way, but if you could share some of your impressions, I'd be grateful.
Sure. We did see girls for the first time, and many of them were wearing pink T-shirts, so you could see them moving also in orderly lines, wearing their badges across the inside of this campus facility. I think most of them appeared to be pretty reserved, perhaps a little curious as to who we were and what we were doing there. We weren't allowed to have any contact with the children.
Did you explain it to them? Did DHS explain it to them? Did the officials that you were with say we're bringing through reporters?
No, my understanding is that it was not explained to them. Several of them would wave at you and smile, but you weren't really supposed to have direct contact. So we did see several groups of girls headed to class, like I said, wearing pink T-shirts in an orderly line. Inside the school buildings, there were art. There was art on the walls, and it did appear that they had, some type of art and crafts program. But for the most part, it is a very structured day here inside this facility for these kids.
Two very quick questions, Katie. Sleeping facilities. Were these teenagers, were these kids sleeping in cages, or were the dorms freestanding? What was that?
We asked very direct questions about the fact that are we not seeing chain link fences by design? Are there chain link fences or any type of caged facilities on this property? And they assured us there were none, that at this facility, these children are old enough to understand order and rules, and that they do not have any of those things that were seen in previous videos in Texas inside this facility. And
my last question for you, those you mentioned, and I think this is key here, 70 of the children of these minors that you saw in this facility, that are housed at this facility where you are in Florida, have been separated from their parents. Any guidance from DHS, and I know you asked the question on how these kids will be reunited with their families, did you get any insight into that?
Well, at this facility, each child is assigned a caseworker. They meet with that caseworker every week, and they are allowed 2 phone calls a week of 10 minutes in length each. During that phone call, they can reach out to parents or family members. The caseworker obviously is someone that is trying to figure out their situation, trying to find a next of kin or someone to take this child. They say that is as good as an answer as they can give me. I don't think there is much plan beyond that. It's that each child does have a caseworker trying to manage their case from inside this facility.
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.